This one's definitely way worse than I expected. You got to remember too, when I come and do an estimate on a job, I can only see maybe 10-15% of the floor. Sometimes less, sometimes more. It just depends on the job. When they got their furniture in there, area rugs, everything else, I can only see but so much. Unless the house is vacant and they're getting it done before they move in, obviously. So when you hit ones like this, when we get started, it's just like, damn. But that's why we charge what we do, because you're going to be left with tabletop quality results and not left with drum marks, divots, and everything else, such as this job. Take this closet, for example. I have no idea, whoever sanded this, how you can even leave marks on the floor like that. How is that even possible? So this one was definitely a little tougher to get cleaned up and especially get flattened out. And as usual, it seems, we're doing the entire upstairs this time. Now, we are doing the entire house, but we're just doing the upstairs now. So I want to get that over with so the customers can move all their furniture downstairs out of the way. Then we're going to come back in a couple weeks and we're going to do the steps and the downstairs. That's why we're not bringing in a big machine for this. Everything's got to go upstairs. I even left the big vacuum downstairs and we just run hoses upstairs. Now, the vacuum I use for the edger, I do bring upstairs because it's not that big. It's not that heavy to move around. And we vacuum up in between every pass. One, because the grit and abrasive is just coming off the abrasives itself. We want to make sure we get all that cleaned up and any other things that's coming out of the cracks or in between the boards, whatever it may be. These older homes, there's always stuff coming out of the boards. And I was showing you there the difference between the two front rooms, which are original to the home, and then the entire hallway and back of the home and the bathroom and that other room is a newer pine that was installed at a later date. So there's definitely at least about 100 years difference in the wood itself. But this room right here was definitely by far the worst. It took Mom a really long time to get this thing cleaned up. I mean, you can just see the amount of drum marks, chatter, the dish out, all that. And whatever type of finish was on here too was a real pain to get off. And yeah, you could have brought a big machine up here, but I'm not going to waste the time breaking it down, carrying it up. Not when we can get this done with just a power drive. A couple of these tight areas, like behind the pedestal sink, I'll hook up that orbital air sander. Just makes pretty quick work of all that instead of doing it by hand or with a scraper or anything else. And you see this room here, existing, whether that was an area rug or a piece of vinyl, and then they painted out around the outside. You never know. They're pretty common to see that in the older homes. And if they've been covered that long, they're not going to sand out. 90% of the time, they're going to be there. So it's going to be like a character. But you see, I was checking the floor. I want to see the moisture content in it before we water pop the floor. Now, I still have the pin video up here on TikTok if you need to know what water popping is and why we do that before we stain a floor. And then after everything's water popped, I'm going to check it again with my moisture meter. You always want to check it with a meter. That's why. Just because it looks dry doesn't mean it is dry. You need to verify that the wood moisture content is back to where it was before you started with the water pop. Now, if you were using a water-based stain, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you can stain those wet. But if you're using a water-based stain, there's no point in water popping because the stain itself is the water pop. And this one we're staining completely by hand, which we haven't done in a long time. It's only like 500 feet, but I got nowhere to put the buffer and everything else up here once I'm done instead of fighting it and going down the steps. Now, you've seen the color difference. That's the same exact stain that went across the entire upstairs. Now, I've already done a video on the tinting the finish. This is just a reminder of what I did with tinting 2 coats of finish on this job to bring that hallway and the back 2 rooms to a closer color to match the 2 existing rooms in the front. Now, I mixed this way darker than I probably should have for the average person. If you've never done this before, you definitely do not want to mix it that dark, because it is not the easiest thing to apply, and make sure you get it even. The slightest little thing will leave a mark. So it's definitely going to take some skill, and you got to know what you're doing to apply the finish like this and get it even and not have any problems. But there you can see after the 2 tinted coats I did in the finish, we got it really close, dialed in on color, way better than it was before. Then we're coming in the final day. We're going to abrade the floor, vacuum up. We're going to put the final coat down, and I want the final coat to always be clear. You don't want to tint finish in the last coat. You take a chance on walking color off or something like that. So you want always that last coat to be clear on top, so you don't have to worry about any of that. But there it is. Final coat is down. Coming back Friday, just check everything. What do you know? It's not bad for 100 years old. Another tabletop quality job. See, the color's pretty consistent. Obviously the wood is not the same. Different time periods, different grading. Nothing's perfect. But color-wise, it's definitely coordinating. And once I get all the furniture and everything else in back in that one room, you're really not going to see that mark in the floor. The only way you're really going to fix that area rug looking mark is you would have to replace or cover the whole thing so you don't see it. There was a walkthrough, some before and afters, and we'll be back in a couple weeks to do the steps and the downstairs. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments.